Time to queue up for a random show. Now, what role should I select? Bleeding heart casual appeasing crybaby podcaster. No, there's far too many of those already. That would unbalance the group. Blizzard fanboy. What use are they in my group? All they do is take all the loot and whine all the time. No, I think I will give that a miss. Ah, yes, here we go. Unstoppably arrogant British monstrosity. Perfect. Now let's see what show we get. God, I hope it's not another Essence of RP. Never anything good in that. Ah, sweet. Here we go.
And so, it begins. Dark were the skies, and chill was the wind, as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did crowd for a savior, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shimmering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with righteous fury. And when the day was done and the enemy strewn across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. The date today is the 18th of December, 2009. It is 8 p.m. British Standard Time, and I don't care what crazy time, or how you're feeling today, or how the weather is in your ridiculous country. Because all that really matters right now is that it's Blue Please on WoW Radio, and you will be listening to 90 minutes of me. That's basically it. If you've never heard this show before, well, there you go, in a nutshell. 4, maybe 5 years of shows, you listen to me for 90 minutes. If you don't like it, go elsewhere. It's as simple as that. You should be able to handle that, I think. We shall see. What have I got coming up for you in the show today? Many things. So, I heard there was a patch out. And it has numerous changes, including a new icon for mage armor. Very important. And yeah, that's it, actually, come to think of it. It was, I don't know, it seemed a little bit underwhelming, honestly, for a major patch. The mage armor icon was nice, don't get me wrong. I'm pretty cool with it. I didn't really like the last one. I mean, they'd had it in there for about 2 months, hadn't changed it. It was getting a bit stale, so I felt it was important both for balance and the morale of the mage as a whole to change that icon over. So I'm glad that they've done that, so that's very, very good. Big thumbs up there for Blizzard, although I'm not entirely sure that that's enough content for the entire show. So, if they wouldn't mind releasing another patch within the next, say, 15 minutes, so that I've got something to say, well, that would be great. In the meantime, though, we shall do the show about mage armor. You know, the sad thing is, some people probably believe that. Ugh. 3.3, folks. Ice Crown, and many, many other things. That's going to be the order of the day. Lots of things to talk about. And of course, your chance to contribute to the show, the illusion of choice. Bang. Crash. Wallop. You can probably hear that from my headphones. That was really loud. I'm partially deaf now. You can tell I haven't been on the air for a few weeks. All my settings are wrong. My glass is too loud. It's too close. It is within proximity of the microphone. That would be terrible. Dangerous, folks. Very dangerous. You don't want to be near virtual glass, or real glass, in fact, shattering like that. Both could be equally lethal. So what have I been up to? Well, you know that guild I mentioned like 2 months ago? Yeah, I actually managed to form it. And we're doing very well so far. Very pleased with the current progress of Dark with the Skies on Mazrigo, which, yes, is full, so don't apply. We've had a couple of people do that already. It is full. It's only a 10-man guild. We are filled to capacity at this point, and then some. Yeah, it's been pretty enjoyable, to be honest. I wasn't 100% sure that I would adapt well to the 10-man raiding environment, having burnt out so much on 25-man, and just said, I don't want it anymore. That was indeed what triggered me quitting WoW several months ago. It got to the point where we were running Old WoW and stuff like that. I quit before 3.2, and I was sick of it. I was so sick of trying to achieve hard modes and having one guy screw it up. It's like, hey, let's roll the dice and see which of these 25 people are going to screw it up this time. It was kind of depressing, honestly. And it drove me away from the game. And 3.2 didn't provide anything worthwhile for me to come back for, so I stuck around and went elsewhere. Played a little bit of Dungeons & Dragons Online. Went back to PlanetSide for a little while, things like that. 3.3 comes around, I think, hey, let's make a 10-man guild. And after a couple of months, we finally got it sorted out, and we went and did our first raid on Saturday. We got free badges from Patchwork, which wasn't exactly enjoyable, but we killed them in under 2 minutes, which, not bad for a 10-man guild that is not that well geared. A lot of our guys also quit around that era, so we're looking at people in 10-man Old War gear, bit of knacks, maybe a couple of pieces of tier 9 they've grabbed from badges. But yeah, that was good. And then we went and did TOC, and blitzed it, which, again, was quite impressive, considering that 80% of us hadn't been there. We had, like, 2 guys who'd been in TOC before. Everyone else, well, they just hadn't. So we went through there, had a couple of false starts on the Jawmanga worms. Yes.
Not one, but 2 Jawmanga worms.
And once we killed those, we steamrolled the entire place up to an Uberak with no wipes, wiped once on an Uberak, and then killed him. Now, this may not seem all that impressive to a lot of you. Hey, it's just the 10-man normal mode, right? But it was good for a first raid, and I was very happy with that. And then we went to do some Old War Hards on the Monday, and we killed Obituary, 10-man, which was pretty fun, and did Heartbreaker, which is significantly less fun than I remember. Having said that, they did nerf it into the ground, and at the moment we're working on I Choose You Steelbreaker. And it's our intention to go through all of Old War and get the Herald of the Titans title, which is beating Algernon with level 226 gear or below. So we're all building sets of 226, and for ICC we're just using our full gear stuff from TOC and things like that. The idea really of this entire guild was to get a challenge out of the raiding game, so the way we figured to do that was not to overgear the encounters. So doing Obituary with guys who were basically wearing Nax gear and Old War gear, i.e. level appropriate, was pretty awesome. Although I heard they nerfed it quite a bit by scaling the vehicles up a little bit too much with your item level, which kind of sucks. One way or the other, though, Obituary is a good fight, relatively challenging, and I had a good laugh with it. So we'll see how that goes. Overall, going pretty well. We did also go into ICC. I will talk about that later. That will be in the next segment. I'll give you my full breakdown of Ice Crown so far. And that's been it. So, without further ado, it is time for this.
That sounds like it's mail time. Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes,
I want to wail.
Yes, indeed, folks, it's mail time. Time where we read the mail. We do have a couple of emails. Obviously, since we only just threw the show back on the air, not too many. But it'll do. It'll keep us going for the time being. A lot of illusion of choice, so if you do want to email in for that, it's themurloc@gmail.com if you want to pick the last topic of the show. Now, let's have a look. Got one here. It's from Demargus, and he says this. Hey, TB, greetings from one of your possibly quite small German audience. We've got a few Germans. We've got a lot of Swedes, actually. Loads of Swedes. Like, the Swedes are like the second biggest demographic outside of the USA. So yeah, shout out to Sweden. In case you're not going to talk that much about it during the show, I'd like to hear your 2 cents concerning the new legendary axe, Shadowmourne. Is it okay to do, once again, a legendary 4-strength melees, or should there be more than one? Is it too easy to get? Is it possibly overpowered? Well, for one thing, legendaries are always overpowered, otherwise there wouldn't be legendaries. That's kind of the point. Unless they have some bizarrely, really, really crazy effect, they're just going to end up being more powerful. That's the whole point. Is it too easy to get? Maybe. It's not as ridiculous as, say, Thunder Fury, where you were just relying on random drops. But then again, it's not as easy to get as the Warglaives, where all you need to do is kill a boss and they might drop. So at least there's a quest involved with it. I can't say that I'm 100% certain as to what that quest entails, and as to how hard it is. I heard that it's not all that hard, not as hard as some of the other stuff, like, say, a Tiesh and things like that. But yes, it's going to end up being overpowered. That's the point. Is it okay to do a legendary for strength melees? I don't keep count. To me, legendaries are just items that get thrown in when they feel like it, or when they want to build hype for a particular piece of content. Since I've never gone after a legendary, I was raiding Nax in the Atiesh era, but I wasn't on the DKP list for Atiesh, so it didn't really matter. No one in our guild ended up getting it anyway. So, I've never felt the legendary fever, as it were. I've never really felt the need to go after it. And as a raider in a 10-man guild, we don't get legendaries, so why would I care? As to whether or not 10-man guilds should get legendaries of some description, I don't know. I assume the reason they don't allow that, because, let's face it, the hard modes in 10-man content are sometimes harder, and a lot of them are pretty much equal. They can do a lot with 10-man hard mods that they can't necessarily do with 25, simply because you can tune the content so if one guy goes down, that's it. Now, of course, you can do that in 25 as well, but it's a little bit more difficult. It's like, how can I tune it in a way that's going to work where if one guy goes down, we lose? I mean, you could use a gimmick mechanic, like, say, Archimon, whereby if someone dies, Archimon does something really nasty to the raid. But aside from that, balancing an encounter where you just don't have the DPS or you don't have the healing if you're one man down from 25 is really hard. Now, it's really difficult from a design perspective. 10 man, it's a lot easier. If one DPS goes down out of 5, say you've got 2 tanks, 3 healers, 5 DPS, which is a pretty common setup for a lot of the content, then, yeah, that's going to make a big difference. That's potentially 20% of your DPS gone. So it's very easy to balance it around that, because you just have the enrage go off, oh look, we don't have the DPS, someone died, that's it. Whereas 25-man scales in a... It's not so much of an exponential manner, but it's certainly not a flat curve all the way up there. Yeah, it starts to really fly up there in the terms of what you can do in a 25-man group, thanks to all the raid buffs and abilities you have. So yeah, Shadowmourne, can't say I'm too fussed about it. Again, I'm not a melee class, so I don't really care about melee legendaries. It's nice that they're putting legendaries in there. I don't think it should be compulsory to keep dumping legendaries into the game. Particularly this one, which doesn't seem to have a lot of background lore and things behind it. I suppose it maybe does. I know they conjured something up about it being some kind of antithesis of Frostmourne or whatever. But a Tiesh, yeah, we knew about that. Thunder Fury, I don't suppose we knew about that. But it's just like all of the legendaries before that seem to have some kind of meaning. But then we get stuff like Valinar, which doesn't have any lore backing it up, or Shadowmourne, which doesn't really seem to have any lore beyond the stuff that they conjured out of thin air backing it up. Who knows? Right. Let's get on with it, shall we? This one, coming from Michael Nicholas, he says this: Total Biscuit, I was curious about your thoughts on the fairly recent Corehound pub being given to people who buy or have bought a Blizzard Authenticator. Now, I am pretty sure that they make no money on the Authenticators, but I'm curious as to what you might think about the issue. Whether it's Blizzard trying to spread the news about Authenticators to people who are otherwise on the fence, or simply give a reason to look into them. Interesting. Well, to be honest, yes, I would say that it is blatantly a marketing scheme in order to get people to use authenticators. But it's not a cynical one. Now, Blizzard does make money off the physical authenticators. But there's a lot of authenticators available for either free or next to nothing, as in all of the mobile authenticators. You don't have to have a physical unit. I've got my authenticator right here, and I believe it's about €8 to buy one, and then if I wanted it shipped to the UK, it would be another 8. Now, that's overpriced, because these little token things cost next to nothing to make. However, because they have offered the mobile alternative, and on many platforms that's free, then you can, in my opinion, deduce that they're more concerned about account security. Now, you might wonder why, because I'm often very cynical about Blizzard when it comes to cash cows and money grabbing. And indeed, money grubbing, whichever you prefer. Both are good, money grabbing and grubbing. At the same time. I reckon it's more economical to offer the authenticator for free or next to nothing, because it cuts down on the amount of GM time and man hours required to, 1, police hacking and keylogging, and 2, replace gear and fix up characters and revert accounts and all that kind of thing. You gotta wonder really how many accounts get hacked per day, because I'm gonna guess in the thousands at least. That's a lot of work to fix all of those accounts. So if everyone had an authenticator, of course, gold selling dies, because we already know that now the majority of gold is coming from these guys who are hacking accounts and just stripping them of everything they own as opposed to farming. You don't see that many gold farmers these days. There've been a few, especially with the wintergrasp hacking and being able to bug your way under the ground and mine from there. But the majority of the money is coming from hacked accounts. So, if you remove that element, then you also remove the thousands upon thousands of man-hours that you have to pay your GMs and your support staff to rectify this problem. Ergo, you have a situation where you're saving more money, and indeed making more money as a result of lower overheads than you would be from simply selling the authenticators for €8 a pop. The Corehound pup thing raises awareness of it. You've got a situation where a guy in-game who doesn't know about an authenticator will ask, where did you get the pet from? And they say, oh, I got it from the authenticator. What's the authenticator? There you go. You've introduced someone to the concept of account security. Very important. So, yeah, I absolutely 110% support the Corehound pup thing. It's great. I'm not going to use mine because Murky is infinitesimally superior, but it's a great idea, so kudos for that. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. I will be back after this break to tell you a little bit about the Ice Crown raids, the pros and cons. Enjoy.